All right, we're ready for lesson 16. And the title of it is just More Complicated Evaluations. So I'm just going to go through some examples of different problems that you're going to be working on, and they just throw in a lot more parentheses, brackets, that kind of thing, but the process is still the exact same. So here is an example. This is letter A, page 73. Their values are P is -4, A is 2, and here is our equation. So we're going to start. Anytime that there's A, we're going to put a 2. Anytime there's a P, I'm going to change this to this. P is -4 minus this guy, and then a bracket. Okay, let's make sure that we have this. We have a negative, or we have a 2 here, a 2 here, a -4 here, and a 2 here. Okay, so now we just need to evaluate. Now remember, we start in the very inside parts here. So here is the innermost bracket here, -4 minus 2. Both signs are the same. You add, and the sign is negative, so it stays negative, okay? So this guy is done, okay? And we have a -2 here, just like that, okay? So now we have a -2 times a -6, which is a 12. Just put that right there, so that's done. But we also have to not forget that we have this 2 here and our negative sign here, okay? So -2 times 12 is -24. So the answer should be -24. Okay, another problem for us to work through. This is letter B, page 73. Our P is -2, our A is -4. So everywhere there's a P, we're going to put -2. Everywhere there's an A, we're going to put -4. Let's see. Okay, lots of parentheses, but don't freak out. It's okay. Okay, let's start with the innermost, where we've got all these parentheses beside each other, and we've got a negative times a -4. Okay, so 2 negatives. Remember how I told you you can pretend like this is a -1. -1 times -4 is a +4. So this whole thing becomes a +4. Okay, and this is a -2 and another negative. Okay, so this is all in here now. And I'm just going to keep this out here. So a -2 times 4 is a -8, and -8 times a -1, or a negative times a negative, is a positive. So this becomes 8. So now we just have this really simple -2 times -4 times +8. And remember, when you have an even number of negatives being multiplied or divided by each other, you're going to get a positive number. So 2 times 4 is 8. 8 times 8 is 64. The answer stays positive. Okay, last example for this lesson is letter C on page 73. We have X as -2 and A as -5. And here is our equation. And so everywhere there's an X, I'm going to put -2, and everywhere there's an A, I'm going to put -5. Okay, so see how I'm changing this? I'm just changing it to make it a little bit more clear, so that I just turned this into another bracket, because I got a lot of parentheses right now. So I've still got a -2 minus -5, okay? That's all still in a parentheses. I'm going to do the same thing here and put a big bracket here. Okay, A is my -5 minus -2, and there we go. All right, so hopefully, and then one more of these big guys, because that one goes with this one, okay? So hopefully now we can evaluate this. All right, let's look at our innermost brackets, parentheses here. That would be this guy, -2 minus a -5. Remember when you have two negatives together, they become positive. So it's basically like saying -2 plus 5. Okay, so different signs, you subtract. 5 minus 2 is 3. Keep the positive sign because that's the bigger number. Okay, so this guy is now 3. Now we're going to come over here and do this one. A negative is a positive, so it's like saying -5 plus 2. Different signs. So we are going to subtract, and we're going to get 3 again, but this is going to be a -3 because the 5 is the bigger number and it has the negative sign in front of it. So inside here, we should have a 3 minus a -3. And then we still have these guys over here. Okay? All right, so working from left to right, we're going to multiply first because we have all of this being multiplied together. This is going to become a +6 because remember you've got two negatives, and when there's two negatives times each other, you get a positive answer. So 3 times 2 is 6. And then when you have two negatives by each other like this, it's like adding. Okay, so this answer actually is going to become 9. Okay, so the only thing that we have left is this on the outside. So this would be -2 and then a negative. Okay, so a negative, pretend it's like -1. -1 times -2 times 9 is 18, and it's positive because there's two negative numbers there. Okay, so the answer would be 18. So lots of parentheses, lots of brackets, lots of confusion, but if you can simplify the conclusion, the answer is really easy. It's not a weird fraction, it's not a weird decimal, it doesn't have an imaginary number or anything like that. You just have to work slowly and methodically, make sure you're doing it in the right order.